Okay, so my name's Dylan Opperman. I'm an information systems major with a concentration in web application development at Illinois State University. Today I'm presenting my final project for IT 358, which is a personal finance tracker called Void Avoid. So let's get into it. So the idea behind Void Avoid came from a problem I noticed. Most finance apps are either too complex, require subscriptions, or are cluttered with ads. I wanted to build something clean and simple that gives you a clear picture of where your money is going. The name Void Avoid represents the core concept of avoiding the financial void of overspending or undersaving. As students often struggle with this as they have to bounce around jobs and just try to figure out their budgets every semester, and just having an app to automate that, I believe, would be very helpful for students. Going into this project, I had a few clear goals. I wanted to fully I wanted to build a fully functional iOS app using Swift and Swift UI, and implement the MVVM design pattern with core data for persistent storage, and create a clean premium feeling interface that felt different from existing apps. On the other feature side, I wanted the users to be able to track income and expenses by category, set saving goals, and track progress and get meaningful insights into their spending habits. So you can kind of have an idea what every month or every week what they find themselves spending money on, and then they can kind of investigate how to maybe trim back on some of those purchases and maybe reordinate those priorities and their disciplined habits. For the tech stack, I use Swift as the primary language. Swift UI for user interface and core data for local persistent storage, so your data stays saved between sessions. I also use Swift charts for spending visualizations, and everything was built in Xcode. The app strictly follows the MVVM design pattern. The model layer consists of two core data entities, transaction item and goal, along with enums for transaction categories and types. The view model layer handles all the business logic. Transaction view model manages fetching, adding, and deleting transactions and computes values like balance, spending rate, and savings rate. Goal view model handles goal creation, savings tracking, deadline calculations. The view layer displays all of this through four main screens and reusable components like stat card and goal card. The app has four main tabs. The dashboard gives you an at a glance summary of your financial health, total balance, this month's spending rate and savings rate, income, and average monthly expenses. The transaction tab lets you log income and expenses with a category, note, and date. The goals tab lets you create savings goals with a target amount of deadline and then add saving contributions over time, and then you can watch your progress. And the insights tab shows you a bar chart of spending by category, a full financial summary, and a percentage breakdown of where your money went. Here you'll see some screenshots of the app running. You can see, for example, a dashboard at the top left showing the balance and stat cards. The add transaction screen uses a category grid, so it's fast to log something if you need to log anything quickly. The goal screen shows progress bars toward each goal, and the insight screen shows the spending chart with the category breakdown below it. I wanted the app to feel premium and intentional. The design uses a light gray background, white card surfaces, and subtle shadows and black accents. Green for income and savings, while reds for expenses. All colors are defined in a centralized theme Swift file, so the design stays consistent throughout the whole app. The header banner uses the Void Avoid logo, a white ring on the back, which represents the void you're trying to avoid. On the learning side, the most valuable thing was understanding how to properly pass view models between views using the state object and observed object to keep data consistent across all four tabs. I also learned a lot about designing core data schemas to support computed properties like spending rate and average monthly expense. Building this project gave me a much more deeper appreciation for how much MVM separates concerns. It made debugging so much easier when the UI and logic were cleanly separated. The biggest planned improvements was adding Plaid integration. I originally planned to connect the app directly to an Apple Pay or Google Pay, for example, but I quickly learned that those APIs aren't public. That's how I discovered Plaid, which is what Venmo and Robinhood uses to connect people to their actual bank accounts. Adding Plaid would require a backend server to handle the API tokens securely, which was beyond the scope of this project, but I do plan on adding this after this semester. I also wanted to add user authentication, budget limits with alerts, and reoccurring transactions. iCloud sync, push notifications, and goal for deadlines, and eventually some sort of AI-based spending prediction. Overall, Void was a great learning project, gave me hands-on experience with the MVVM, core data, Swift charts, and building a polished Swift UI app from scratch. The app concept name, logo, and design were all original, and the Swift UI concepts I learned throughout Dr. Zhang's course were the foundation for everything you saw today. Now I'm going to give you an example of the app demonstration. So this is the dashboard. Right now it's showing my current balance in these 4 cards. Show my spending rate. Right now, for example, I'm starting this fresh, so you can see me putting the data in or deleting data. You can also see savings rate, monthly income, and average monthly expenses for the current month. As I add more data, these updates automatically. So for example, let me add a transaction. So here I can choose my amount. I can do, for example, food for $85. I'll do this as expense, food. You can also do a note if you want to remind yourself where you're shopping at. So if you're going to Walmart or something, you can add that in. And then also you can put in the date. Now I'll save this transaction. You can now see that it appears in the list right away. Now I'll add one more as an income transaction. Let's make the amount 2,000. And now we can see that we also have that in transactions. Now let's go look at the dashboard real quick. Now you look at the dashboard, you can see your spending rate, savings rate, monthly income, and the average expense. And then also on the bottom, it will tell you your recent transactions. Now we'll go to the Goals tab. Let's say that I want to save for a new MacBook, which chances are if you're taking this class, you might need to save for a MacBook. So let's call this MacBook. And let's do around 700. That's roughly what I had to pay for mine. And let's create the goal here. Now, here you can see the goal of the MacBook that I created. Let's say I've already worked a little bit for this, knowing I had to buy a MacBook for this course. So let's say I had to put in, let's say I've saved up already $300. Now it'll tell me if I only have $400 remaining. Now let's go to the Insights tab. So the Insights tab is basically just showing you your spending category. Basically, it'll go up and down depending on your different things. For example, if I had something else other than food, which I can create here. Let's do transport. Let's just say gas. Now you'll see that I also have a transport bar. So now you can see what your spending category is. Now we can see your average monthly expenses, spending rate, savings rate, net balance, total expenses, and total income. And then you can also have a category breakdown knowing what you're spending your money on. And then here you see your once you have a goal activated, it will now appear on the dashboard. One last thing, the data persists. If I close the app and reopen it, everything is still here. That's the core data's functionality. That pretty much sums up Void. I'll be pushing this to my GitHub, which I'll show below. Right now it'll be private, but eventually I will make it public once the app is finished. Thank you for listening. I hope that this app was actually enjoyable to actually look into. Thank you.